Since 2020, the state and its legions have been working in lockstep to lock down liberty for the masses. When tyranny tuned up, our guest today drew a line in the sand. He took to the airwaves and is now on his way towards becoming elected vice president of the Libertarian Party. He's been spreading the sound money gospel of Ron Paul and Satoshi. We have an hour with Clint Russell of Liberty Lockdown, so buckle up. And if you're a statist, you may want to turn the channel because a fistful of freedom is coming at you in 3, 2, 1.
We have benefited tremendously from winning the Cold War. The problem is that instead of realizing the competitive advantage we had and capitalizing on that peaceful period, we turned towards militarism that was highly avoidable.
Rudy Giuliani famously called Ron Paul out and tried to shame him in front of the GOP during the debates, and Ron didn't waver whatsoever, and I'm glad he didn't because he was 100% right. Our foreign interventionism ultimately creates deleterious consequences for the American people.
From 1991, from that position of global dominance, undisputed global hegemon, best economy, best military, highly educated people, we could have been a dominant force for the next 100 years, and we squandered it because the fucking Project for a New American Century lunatics got into a place of power, and by some sick joke, now the left is also espousing the same ideology.
We should not be policing and socializing the cost of making a functioning economic system for the entire world. Why should the American taxpayer be held hostage to the security of every corporation on Earth to make sure that the economic system continues to function? I think it's an absurdity.
I want a goddamn planet that my fucking kids can be safe in. Do you? Have you given up so much that you have just written off the future of your progeny, that you don't care what happens to them? Because if that's who you are, then you need to look in a fucking mirror. We have time-tested, beautiful ideas to counter these utterly shitty ideas that are being pushed on us by some of the least impressive, most worthless human beings that have ever walked the face of the planet. And you think we can't win? I'm not going to lose to these people. You're going to lose to these people? Are you fucking kidding me? We're winning today, and the next day, and the next week, and the next month, and the next year. We're going to fucking win over and over and over again. Will we have setbacks? Yes. It's inevitable that we will. But at the end of the day, liberty will win out. The spirit of humanity will not be extinguished as long as people like you and I are breathing. Are you breathing? Yeah, me too. We're breathing. Have some fucking hope.
Can you feel that thing beating in your chest right now? Clint's in the house. Welcome, my brother. How we doing?
I'm good. I did not expect that. That was intense, man. Holy crap.
Hey, you bring the heat. That's all your stuff.
No, I appreciate it, man. That was a killer edit. Wow. Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you.
Hey, appreciate you and all the work you're doing, man. And last time we talked, we were with Jethro, and you had just barely had that idea of being vice president, kind of like floated out there. And I remember I was kind of like, hey, send it. Just do it, Clint, you know. But this is coming fast. And a lot of people don't know the vice presidential nominee isn't elected by who wins, right? So there's an interesting dynamic at play here that could leave you as Robert F. Kennedy's vice president. Am I getting that right? Could you lay this out for me? And just also, man, how far you've come the past few years? Incredible.
Well, thank you. Yes, that is the unique aspect of the Libertarian Party nomination process, is that the delegates, which will be about 1,000 of them about 10 days from now or a week from now in Washington, D.C., will get to select via their vote who gets to be the presidential nominee for the Libertarians as well as the vice presidential nominee for the Libertarians. Now, because RFK has already selected his vice presidential candidate, I think he has already signaled quite definitively that he will not be seeking the Libertarian Party nomination. So I don't think that there's a chance of that happening, but you never know. Theoretically, I guess it could still happen if he wanted to shelve his running mate, but that's unlikely. So it looks like it's probably a 3-man race, maybe 4, when it comes to the presidential nomination process. And for the vice presidential nomination process, I don't even know who's actually challenging me at this point. So we're going to find out on Friday night. I'll be debating them live in DC, and we'll see what the delegates think.
And I think from that intro, you guys know you better turn your ass tune your ass into that. That's going to be awesome, man. But let's talk about this. RFK is going to be there. Trump's going to be there. They've been, kind of going at it a little bit. what is going to go down here? Vivek as well is going to be there. I heard Afro Man's going to turn up. He got a remake about somebody in their crack pipe coming out, so that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that. But dude, what sort of fireworks do you see, and what are you excited about, or what do you see coming out of this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really momentous occasion for the Libertarians. We have never had anything close to this kind of magnifying glass put on our movement. So I think I view it as a massive net positive that we're going to have the favorite to be the next president of the United States, in Donald Trump, the candidate who represents the biggest threat to the duopoly since Ross Perot, for sure, and RFK Jr. Vivek Ramaswamy, who looks like he could be the favorite to be the president in 2028. He wants to come in. He wants to debate whoever gets the VP nomination, which will probably be me. So this is a crazy, crazy event, a crazy moment. Tim Pool's going to be there. Myself, Luke Radowski will be doing our show live from there. I've heard that 50 or 100 media outlets have reached out and asked for credentials. This is going to be a huge, huge event. Huge. I mean, I can't overstate how huge it's going to be compared to every other libertarian event I've ever been to. This is going to trounce it probably 50x.
Man, you got me so pumped up right now, and I'm thinking like a lot of people blatantly, and I think it's just like all of it's happening at the right time. People are blatantly seeing like, this isn't good. I don't know if they think we're a serious country anymore. A lot of stuff very obvious with that. But also at the same time, Clint, our loving overlords and experts appear to have it all under control. Let's check it out.
Government can't go bankrupt because we can print our own money.
It obviously begs the question, why exactly are we borrowing in a currency that we print ourselves? I'm waiting for someone to stand up and say, why do we borrow our own currency in the first place?
Like you said, they print the dollar. So why does the government even borrow?
Well, again, some of this stuff gets, some of the language that some of the language and concepts are just confusing. I mean, the government definitely prints money, and it definitely lends that money, which is why the government definitely prints money, and then it lends that money by selling bonds. Is that what they do? They sell bonds. Yeah, they sell bonds, right? Since they sell bonds and people buy the bonds and lend them the money. Yeah, so a lot of times, at least to my ear with MMT, the language and the concepts can be kind of unnecessarily confusing, but there is no question that the government prints money and then it uses that money to, yeah, I guess I can't really talk. I don't get it. I don't know what they're talking about. Like, because it's like the government clearly prints money. It does it all the time, and it clearly borrows. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this debt and deficit conversation. So I don't think there's anything confusing there.
Not confusing. His brain just Mitch McConnelled right there. I don't know, Clint. Should we trust the experts, or what are your thoughts?
I just want people to realize that is a top economic advisor to the Biden administration. He doesn't understand even the most base level of how our economic system works. And in his defense, it is fairly complicated what they do with derivatives and discount windows and everything else. It's like, this is a complicated system, but if you're the top economic advisor and you can't find any sort of pathway to getting a cogent point out, you need to resign. I mean, but these are the people that are advising the president of the United States. I mean, this is why I'm a Bitcoiner. This is why I'm a libertarian. This is why I'm an Austrian. This is why I'm a hard money guy, is that like our system is fatally broken. Like, it is not going to be repaired. The vast majority of Americans don't even understand the circumstances in which they are functioning. So, some of them are starting to wake up to it because every time they go and they get groceries, they have to get a second mortgage on their home. Like, good. I'm glad that they're slowly waking up. But the reality is that there is no political will. The GOP has no interest in actually doing what needs to be done. Donald Trump is responsible for greenlighting the $100 billion foreign aid package, according to Lindsey Graham and Mike Johnson. And now, just yesterday or this morning, actually, Boris Johnson came out and said that it was Donald Trump that got that over the finish line. That ain't America first. That ain't fiscal responsibility. That ain't conservatism. That ain't Americanism. That ain't anything. It is just pure totalitarian statism, money printing nonstop, and it has to stop. And we have to have a third party in this country that rises up to represent the opposition to this insanity. If you are interested in having a future for your children, for yourself, let's be honest, this is not some distant future. This is the now. And we need a revolution now and peacefully, ideally.
And no bet at the perfect moment, at this like precipice of time, like we separated church from state, and here we are at this moment Ron Paul had been speaking on for so long. Oh, wait, in the Fed. That became the mantra. And people didn't know what the hell the Fed was. People didn't know what fractional reserve banking was. I don't think most people had any idea about the duopoly system. But Ron Paul, who was technically a Republican, who ran as a Libertarian in '88, but he kind of played that game and was always... no lobbyists came to his door, no tax increases, no increase in budget. Is this that flipping of the moment where, there's this old thesis, I think it's Deverger's law, and it kind of says because of a two-party system, that top party will always absorb the movement that's growing. And right now, maybe it kind of seems, are the conservatives trying to adopt that Ron Paul, Satoshi message of sound money? What is going on, and what do you think at the Libertarian Convention is going to be the heart of the issue? Because I think we understand, because we've been around it so long, is the money's broken. You won't fix a fucking thing by voting harder, filing a petition, or whatever the hell. Until you fix the money, all the incentives and the structures and the tentacles going everywhere are all fucked. So how do we take in the Fed mainstream again and build on all those things Ron Paul did?
Yeah, I mean that's the quadrillion dollar question. How do we actually make our ideas come to pass in reality? Ron had an incredible moment from, not really a moment, many years from 08 through 12 that really shed light on the Austrian economics and the sound money and the Fed mantra moment. But we need to actually have that happen. It's not enough to just talk about it. It's not enough to chant it. We need it to actually be implemented. And if we can implement it at the federal level, then maybe we can salvage the US dollar. I doubt it. I'm just being totally honest. I sincerely doubt that that'll actually happen, which is why, more and more people in my camp have kind of just tuned out from the political system and tuned into Bitcoin. And they're just like, I'm done. I'm done playing this game. I'm going to just opt out myself. The issue, and the reason that I'm interested in running for the vice presidency, is that it's not really enough to just opt out. If you live in America, you're going to suffer the consequences of either a hyperinflationary blowout, or if the interest rates get hiked a la Paul Volcker in the early 80s, you could have a Great Depression. But either way, it's going to suck. It's going to be terrible. Your Bitcoin may be fine and you may crush and you may be one of the richest people, but you're still going to be surrounded by chaos. And that's the kind of the conundrum that people in our camp are always put into. It's like, yeah, we'll probably be all right because we understand what's happening, but we're also surrounded by a bunch of people that don't have a fucking clue what's going on. And they're going to just be looking for blood and vengeance when the whole house of cards comes crumbling down. So that's really why I'm running, is that I want to give as many people as possible the opportunity to opt out before the end times, and the end times are nigh, unfortunately. On top of that, we also have the risk of World War III via multiple proxy wars, which apparently America First Donald Trump doesn't have a problem with. He's okay with funding proxy wars with nuclear powers. I think that is suicidal. I think it's just extraordinarily dangerous on a scale that I can't even really quantify. And this is coming from someone who's been incredibly critical of Donald Trump when it came to the 2020 lockdown era. Granted, yes, it was the governors, but he played a major role in that too. So we just need better, man. We need better messaging. We need, we need a better electorate. We need more people that understand what you and I understand. And at this point, it ain't enough of us. We need a lot more.
All right, Clint. So thinking about all that, and we have this convention coming up, and you said this is going to be the biggest libertarian convention of all time. You've got two of the top three leading candidates up there, and you just slayed the two-party system. How would, like, you, and you're a vice presidential candidate now, who knows where you are in the next 5, 6, 10 years, it's going to be crazy. But as long as you keep preaching this sound money gospel and these things, it's going to go. But yeah, what is your major critique of both RFK and Trump from the libertarian viewpoint?
Yeah. Well, let me start by saying the good things, because libertarians are very good at critiquing, but they're very bad at complimenting. So I love the fact that RFK has been courageous enough to speak out about the insanity that exists within the FBI, the CIA, the deep state broadly, big pharma. Like, kudos all the way around. He is opening up the Overton window. Anthony Fauci, NIH, he understands where all the bodies are buried. I love that aspect of him. Donald Trump, he has done a fantastic job at highlighting the depravity of our media and our political establishment. Like, he really has shed light on that in a way. He's also demonstrated that our judicial system is corrupt to its core. I appreciate all of these things. These are all lessons that I think the American people are taking in from both of these men. The issue, unfortunately, is that both of them are big statist guys. Like RFK Jr., setting aside his history where he was like a gun grabber and all that, he claims he's changed. He's had a change of heart. I'll grant him. Maybe he has. The issue is that he still doesn't understand economics at all. He is still proposing that he's going to be giving basically guaranteed or subsidized loans at the 3% rate for mortgages to once again reinflate the already insanely overinflated real estate market. For those that don't know me, my background is in real estate. I ran a mortgage company for over a decade. I understand this intimately. He is absolutely wrong, and he will create the biggest bubble ever in real estate if he is to become the president, because he doesn't fucking get it. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand economics. Donald Trump is also the biggest spending president we've ever had. Yes, it happened during 2020, whatever, but it was still $7 trillion in 2020. That is suicidal. That is not someone that is at all interested in getting the national debt under control. That, like, he just doesn't get it. I don't know why. I don't know how. Because he comes from a kind of a similar background as me, being in real estate developing and borrowing money and things like that. And like I was on the flip side of it, but still, you have to understand that like the country still, like, the rules still apply. Like, you cannot borrow indefinitely and expect to survive. And that's where we're at. And it has been contributed to in a massive way by Donald Trump and his presidency. And not even just 2020. It's not like he had a budget surplus in up through 2019. He was a big spender the entire time. He had the power to veto these things. He didn't. In fact, he went the opposite direction, and he threatened to, or he challenged and encouraged people to run against Thomas Massie, the greatest congressman since Ron Paul, and it ain't close. He wanted him out because Thomas Massie wanted to vote on the largest spending bill in human history. I'm sorry, but that is a disqualifying maneuver. That is totally against anything that I would value in a political figure. So there's the good and the bad of both. I just wanted to be even-handed so people understand. I don't suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. I realize that the FBI tried to coup him. I realize that they spied on his campaign. I realize that everything that they've blamed or accused him of, the Clintons and the Bidens have all been guilty of it themselves. It's pure projection. It's pure nonsense. The judicial system is absolutely being weaponized to try and remove him. I like all of that. That's all great, but it doesn't change the fact that at the end of the day, he wasn't good. He wasn't good enough to be the president of the United States. He didn't fix anything. He just showed you the problems. We need someone that can actually get there and fix it.
And we know we're going right through this cycle again. Can it be fixed? Is there I was trying to think about this earlier. I think, Bitcoin is in the Fed technology, but I think if you go far enough down the road with what sound money does to nation states and, the sovereign individual thesis, it could be a nation state ending technology. And the only way we solve any of these issues, and it's been proven, and not based on a 50-year theory. They called it modern just to make it sound cool, but foundational economics is kind of right here for us. How do we how do we take sound money? Because I feel like now we're almost at a part where we have this coalition of an in the Fed that could be unstoppable. If you had RFK collab with the Trump, and then you also have that other Vivek's in the House. What are we looking at there? Is a coalition on just right here on the forefront that could be a just massive swing here, and it maybe this convention will be what fuels it, and maybe
we'll see.
Yeah,
no, I mean it's an interesting question, and I think that the coalition of the coalition I want to be involved in is an actual America First coalition, like an actual one. And unfortunately, Donald Trump has proven time and time again that ain't what he's about. Vivek also sounds at times as if he's totally about it, but then he also talks about sending in hit squads to topple the cartels in Mexico and still funding Taiwan in their defense against China. That ain't America First either. Sorry. So I am an actual non-interventionist. That's Ron Paul 101. That's libertarianism 101. Non-intervention. And let me remind you, this is not just a libertarian perspective. This is the perspective of the founding fathers of America. Their perspective is what made this the greatest country in the world history. And I want to re-embrace those principles. Now, the question as to whether or not a coalition of an RFK Jr. and a Vivek and a Donald Trump can bring that to pass, I don't really think so, because I don't think they actually mean it when they say it. If they did, I wouldn't be running. I'd be supporting them. Just being honest. And to your broader question as to whether or not we can actually, see these ideas win, I don't think we can see them win in the near term, because people are still not really privy to what we're talking about right now, at least not on a level that they'll actually say, okay, I'm going to vote for the libertarians. Yes, I know I'm throwing my vote away, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is, I'm throwing my vote away either way, because our economic system is in meltdown mode, and we're on the precipice of World War III, and it doesn't seem to matter who's the president. If it's Joe Biden, or if it's Donald Trump, or if it's RFK for that matter, I'm not sure that any of them actually understand the danger that we're in, financially, militarily, geopolitically, economically, all across the board. I don't think that they really get it. You need someone who gets it. So it's up to the American people. At this point, I'm not really hopeful. I don't think that there's enough Americans that actually understand how dangerous, the circumstances are. But they're going to find out, and let's just hope they find out not too late.
Yeah, I was just, when you were going, Clint, I was just thinking, what was so fucking unclear about no entangling alliances? And then look at how this has played out, and only took, the second president to absolutely eradicate the First Amendment with the Sedition Acts. And here we are again. We are in Trudeau's gulag today, and I think we know there were some laws passed that are severely attacking the First Amendment here, but we also see that in the U.S., the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment. I remember Gary Johnson, he was running on restore the Fourth Amendment. I think Bitcoin in and of itself is a restoration of the Fourth Amendment. So by opting into that, you have that. But we also have to fight this regime, which just got kicked in the teeth today, Clint. I don't know if you saw the vote, but the Senate struck down the move by the Biden administration saying that financial institutions would not be able to custody Bitcoin. And it ended up being like a 60-38 vote. And so now Biden can't implement the veto, or he would suffer such a political loss that he couldn't. Is Bitcoin the Trojan horse for freedom in America?
Well, it's certainly possible. I think on an individual level, the answer is probably yes. The issue is that it is not the Trojan horse. It's not the silver bullet for everything. I know a lot of people say, Bitcoin fixes this, fix the money, fix the world. Yeah, look, if you can fix the money, you can fix the world. I'll grant you that. But the issue is that most people have not adopted Bitcoin, and it's not like just most. It's almost nobody. So we're talking about a couple percent of the population that might actually be able to weather the economic storm that comes. But you're not going to get away from the pain entirely. So I'm very pro Bitcoin. I talk about it pretty constantly, but it's simply not enough. The system itself still has a monopoly on violence. They can still come for us. They can still create depressions. They can still launch nuclear weapons. There's a lot that they're capable of that Bitcoin does not fix. So we need to do more than just start to, adopt Bitcoin.
100%. And I'm thinking about, the sound money, and we can look back on, of course, it doesn't end war. It just makes it actually cost something, right?
Right.
And there's an actual cost or consequence to an action rather than having this magic money printer ability. Now, a lot of people
to clarify one thing, if you actually replace the US dollar with Bitcoin and it became like the hard money, this is what we're using, this is the federal government now has to live within its means. Yeah, that would actually prevent wars, because then they wouldn't be able to do what they do, which is borrow and print into oblivion, manipulate interest rates, and steal from us to the tune of trillions of dollars so that they can fund all of these wars endlessly. But that's not really the issue, because Bitcoin isn't going to be adopted by the United States government. They already have the reserve currency of the world. They're in such an advantageous position, or at least they have been, that they're not going to give that up and give up on the ability to print money. Like, if you and I had that power, we probably wouldn't give it up either. So I don't envision them doing that. And that's the reason I say that Bitcoin doesn't fix the empire. It doesn't fix the military industrial complex, because, well, you and I may adopt it. That doesn't mean that they are, and they're not going to, at least not until the end stage. So I think that's the primary reason that I say it's not enough.
There's a lot of people too. Maybe they don't understand the non-intervention principle, or they're like, "Oh, that's just putting your head in the sand. We're just going to get bombed by everybody." But they don't understand the consequences of a flawed foreign policy that led to all of the disasters, the current geopolitical calamity, just insanity going. And also, people need to figure out. Not when you hate or dislike the actions of someone's government, that does not mean those people. Okay. And we have that happening on a massive level. And I think people are not hearing each other, or we got people bogarting other people's movements, which has happened many times in the past, whether with Occupy and others, where other movements tend to leak themselves into it and may cast a different light. What are your thoughts on the First Amendment freedoms and this discourse going on with the Middle East in America?
I'm super disturbed by it. I mean, there are hate speech laws that are being pushed in many states. You just had Congress pass that bill I think it made it so that like they included anti-Semitism into the kind of like the Civil Rights Act when it comes to Title IX or something like that. It was very complex. To a certain extent, it was just virtue signaling allegiance to Israel.
Now, why is it, and sorry, people see that, some people will see that and that they think, oh, that is a good cause. I want to get behind that, but they don't know that, like the Patriot Act is not, relinquishing your Fourth Amendment isn't patriotic. Relinquishing words of the English language is not patriotic. So can you build on that? That's
of course. Yeah, man. I mean, we all just lived through the censorship regime of 2020 and 2021. And obviously it hasn't stopped, but it just became very obvious during that 2-year period. Did you enjoy that? Did anybody enjoy that? Okay. If you agree with me that was completely insane and immoral and un-American, well, then you should also agree with me that you do not want there to be laws that protect particular groups of people versus everybody else. Like, that is actually what foments additional racism and hatred. It also feeds into the conspiracy theories about there being a group of people that you can't talk about. Like, you don't want to go down this path, I assure you. Free speech is paramount to any of your additional concerns about the deleterious consequences of us being able to think and speak freely. And I say all of this with tremendous love for Jewish people. There's not a tinge of anti-Semitism when I'm defending free speech and saying that there should not be hate speech laws against anti-Semitism. It's not because I want to do it. It's because I understand that the principle is more important. That's always the case. Principles are always more important than your particular concerns in the moment. It's just the same reason that you don't, ban guns. Well, it's a time of peace. We don't need to have all of these guns and around. It's like, yeah, well, you're going to need them eventually, dude. Like, you're going to need to be able to speak freely eventually. And we learned in 2020, we don't have the free speech rights that we thought we did. And that's really, really disturbing. And the fact that there is now a proxy war that we are being forced to fund, both sides, the munitions and the artillery on one side and the aid on the other, and we're not allowed to talk about it, like, I reject that entirely. So I think that free speech matters way more.
So I think, Clint, you would agree that we shouldn't take money from poor people in the United States and give them to sketchy regimes overseas. Is that probably inaccurate?
Yeah. And for the record, not even non-sketchy regimes, like high-functioning regimes. I don't care. You don't get to take my money and give it to other people. If I want to do it, I'll do it. Okay. So that is the actual America First principle. And let me also address the concerns about non-intervention being put your head in the sand. That's not what it is. It is just a belief that we do not have a right to dictate how everybody all over the planet lives. Now, if they want to hurt us, we have every right to defend ourselves. I'm not a pacifist. I believe in self-defense. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in defending our country. I do not believe that we have the right to dictate what everybody else does all over the planet. It is, and it will bankrupt us. So you have to get real about this stuff. I had a lengthy sit down with Peter Boghossian, and we talked about this at like really, really deep. And like, people don't understand that this is going to come to an end regardless. Our ability to police the world will stop in your lifetime. It's up to you if you want to see it stop because we lose a world war or we lose humanity in nuclear hellfire, or does it stop because we realize that it has to, that financially we can't continue to do this, that our culture is decaying because of it. Like, that's the choice that you have. It's not a great choice. It's a choice I wish you didn't have to make, but you do. So you have to be an adult about it and decide, do you want to see it come to pass in a World War III, or do you want to just decide we're not going to police the world anymore? It's up to you.
And I was thinking, Clint, how did we go from, was it Voltaire? Even though I disagree with you, I'd fight to the death for your right to speak it.
Exactly.
And then now we have this today. Cancel him. He made fun of my blue shoes, or whatever it is. And then we also have, just this complete cancel culture. And everyone is a victim. And not just that, well, now we're 60%. Like, if you factor in taxes, inflation, and everything else, 60% of your income goes to granddaddy's state, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, man.
And no one seems to bat an eye. What is going on? How did this happen? And again, I think what you've been hitting on and what we've been hitting on is, it's not just the money. We have to win the culture, the hearts, minds, spirits of the populace. And that is so crucial. We got to get based again, Clint.
Yeah, we do. And you know, the best way we do that is we stop being such fucking cowards and we actually tell the truth. And you don't have to like feel bad about being honest if you actually have the right ideas. I don't have any problem telling the truth because I'm confident, because I have just tested my ideas in the fire over and over and over again. And I will engage with anybody that wants to anytime, basically, my schedule allowing, because I believe that libertarianism is right, that property rights are paramount, that, you know, God-given or natural rights, however you want to phrase it, are the foundational principles by which you establish the greatest countries in the world, civilizations, cultures, if you want to take it down from a non-status level. Like, that's what I want to get back to. I believe strongly that those ideas are the best humanity has ever had, and we are giving up on them. Now, to your question as to why, I think a lot of it has to do with public schooling, that we are indoctrinated from basically from birth, I mean, from 4 years old or whatever it is, to believe a bunch of nonsense. And that's unfortunate. But just like, this is actually a really good analogy to the Bitcoin issue. Like, does adopting Bitcoin get me out of the fiat system and help protect me and my loved ones from the, you know, debauchery all around us? Yeah, it helps me. Well, the same thing with public school. It's like, well, does getting your kids out of public school help you and homeschooling them? Does that help them? Yeah, of course. Yes, but is it enough? And I think that the answer is it's not really enough, that we do need to be doing more. And I wish it weren't. Like, just to be very clear, I wish it was as simple as homeschool your kids, you know, become a Bitcoin maxi, and then you're good. It's over. It's like, no, it's not over. You can have a ton of Bitcoin and you could still have the government come, blow your door down or drop have some flying robot drop a bomb on your head. It's like, we have to do more. And I think that the way we fix this culture is by doing all of it. It's like, it's not just homeschooling. It's not just Bitcoin. It's not just homesteading. It's not just getting married and having kids. It's not just finding God. It's not just finding Satoshi. It's not just, listening to Ron Paul and Rothbard and Dave Smith and whoever else. Like, you have to do a lot. And I think that's more than anything, like the diminishment of personal responsibility when it comes to I'd say young people, but really young men. Like, young men need to hear these lessons of like hard work and living an honest, principled lifestyle. That is how we prevail. That is how we get through these hard times turning into soft men. We actually need to go, or soft men turning into hard times. I don't even know why I always use that metaphor, because it's so hard to remember which order it goes in. But we're in the hard times now, and I think that the men are eventually going to have to get hard. And every time I say that, it also sounds gay, which I don't have a problem with.
Hey, get hard or die trying, I guess. But man, this is incredible. Clint, we're getting close to time here. I want to make sure I respect your time. We're coming up. I was just thinking about this with the convention. Hypothetically, fantasy football Liberty lineup for the ultimate cabinet of the presidency. What do you got? Secretary of State, Vice President? Let's see it. What do we got?
I wouldn't even be able to list all the cabinet positions, so I'll just give you a handful. But certainly, Scott Horton gets Secretary of Defense. Tom Woods, I would probably put, I don't know, Department of Education or Fed chair.
Oh, dude, yes.
Ron Paul obviously is a great selection for Fed chair. Dave Smith for whatever.
Oh, man, dude,
he can do anything.
Dave's got to be press secretary. That'd be fucking hilarious.
I honestly, like, yeah, I think he would just absolutely crush at that. But I feel like because he would be working under me, I would feel weird about that, because like I look up to the guy so much. But yeah, he would eviscerate the media. It would be awesome. The list goes on and on, man. It would be thrilling for sure. Or instead of Dave, we'll put Michael Malice press secretary. He said he only needs one Bitcoin per month to do it, so that's totally reasonable. 60 grand or whatever. But I mean, the truth is about the Libertarian cabinet is that you would probably work for a month, and then we would abolish all of these cabinets. So it'd be like a brief siesta.
I think that's a pretty solid start right there. I'm thinking here, Clint, heard someone talk on this the other day, because the 51% and everyone, but my democracy. Is democracy a scam, and does it always lead to fascism?
Well, yeah, democracy is a scam. Democracy is the god that failed, as Hans Hermann Hoppe famously said. Great book, by the way. I would highly recommend anybody that hasn't read it go do so. But yeah, democracy is the tyranny of the majority. And if you don't have, rights that supersede the tyranny of the majority, then you are going to live in hell. So that's what made America and the Republic so special, is that we had this list of things that were like, hey, we're gonna allow democracy to kind of destroy certain aspects of your freedom, but we're going to keep like these 10 things off limits. Like, you can't touch these. You can't vote on these. Unfortunately, because we still voted for people at all, they have, used the judicial system and creative reading of laws and writing of laws to circumvent even those, those rights that they are allegedly forbidden from intervening on. So yeah, I'm not a fan of democracy, if I'm being totally honest, but that is a system to a certain extent in which we function, a democratic republic, and we have to give some concern to the demands of the majority, because they ultimately can throw us all in cages.
Man, Clint, thanks so much for joining us today. This has been absolute fire. Me and Nico and Opti might be making a trip to the Libertarian Party convention, dude. So we'll see if we can put that together. Looking forward to that. But before we go, Where can everybody find you? Also, got to get the best political show with Luke Rukowski, Liberty Lockdown. Drop all your sources. Send the people to go find that Liberty signal.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. At Liberty Lock Pod on X. Liberty Lockdown is the show on YouTube and everywhere else, Apple, Spotify, Rumble. The best political show, Luke Rudowski. I do that. We have an exclusive deal on Rumble. We go live usually 6 to 8, 3 nights a week. Have great guests. It's amazing. Actually, we will be having on Dave Smith on Friday. It's going to be at an unusual time because we're working around the schedule of the event. But that'll be next Friday. So that's going to be huge. I also do a comedy show called Tower Gang, which you should never, ever watch. And that's it, man. I really appreciate it. I hope that we can make a difference, man. We need more people that are willing to take some time out of their lives to do this. And instead of just sitting on my couch and bitching, I decided to do it myself. And I don't know if I'm going to regret it, but we'll see.
Man, I don't think so. And I know you've, helped spread that Liberty message. I know I've, you get me fired up, man. And
well, thank you.
I started watching Liberty Lockdown and Dave and those guys after that Ron Paul wave and that evolution. These are the guys in that niche that you need to be listening to. They're doing great work, and they are fighting the system day in and day out. You got to appreciate it. And they're spreading the message of Satoshi and Ron Paul. I mean, that's a match made in heaven, baby.
Exactly.
So, one last thing. Any closing remarks from you, Clint, to send the people off with a fistful of freedom here? Yeah,
I mean, I would just say that it's really not enough to just expect someone to fix this. And honestly, because I'm talking to a Bitcoin crowd, you guys probably already know that. You've already realized that, like, there is no knight in a white horse that's coming for us. So I just want to encourage people to have the courage of their convictions, that like, especially the Bitcoin community, like, you people really get it. So, and I'm not trying to kiss your ass. I'm just like, honestly, that's my assessment of the Bitcoin community, is like, you people really get it. So these are the people that I want to be the leaders of the next generation. Like, for instance, the whole reason that I got involved with this and ended up running is, like, I saw Dave Smith on Joe Rogan in 2016. I was a big Joe Rogan listener. I've been a libertarian. I'm a second-gen libertarian. But after the Ron Paul revolution ended in 12, it was like this just kind of, it was a denouement. It was just this void for a while. And then I hear Dave's beautiful voice on Joe Rogan in 2016, and I was like, oh, we're back, dude. This is it. Like, it has not perished. I thought it was gone. It's not. And that encouraged me. Obviously I wasn't catalyzed instantly, but when the lockdowns happened, I was like, all right, now it's my turn. And I think that, like, that is what we need. We need the offspring of the Ron Paul revolution to rise. Like, and I have not seen enough of that yet. I know there's millions of you out there. I know millions of you are now hardcore Bitcoiners. Like, we need you guys to be the leaders. And I think you will be.
Yeah. So, like, in 2 weeks, I better see a blimp flying across the U.S. with Revolution Love and Satoshi's face on it. That'll be badass. But Clint,
that'd be cool.
Thanks again, brother. Can't wait to see what you do at the convention, and look forward to getting together again soon, brother.
Thank you again.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, fuck you.